Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get back into our coverage over the Uncanny X-Men, and we're going to pick up with issue number 327 and issue number 328. Now, if you saw my last X-Men video we did, X-Men number 46 and 47, we had covered a storyline where it was the X-Men dealing with the X-Babies. Now, in that storyline, we had also learned of the possibility of the return of Magneto. Now, guys, we already know that's not technically the case, but for the sake of the video, let us just believe that it's the possibility of Magneto coming back into the picture. You see, when it came to Charles Xavier, he was very upset with Magneto back in Fatal Attractions. And so in that storyline, you had Charles Xavier shut down the mind of Magneto. And so ever since then, you kind of had Magneto be watched over by different characters. One of those characters was Colossus. But when it came to the end of Avalon, you had Colossus and Magneto crash back onto the Earth. Now, for Colossus, he was technically pulled away into a different storyline dealing with Gene Nation. And so we were kind of left to wonder, what happened to Magneto? And so in our last video, we saw this guy who resembled Magneto, and apparently he was somewhere in the middle of, well, who knows? And so we're kind of like, okay, it's Magneto coming back into the picture, but also he does not remember anything from his past at all. And so as we dive into the opening pages for Uncanny X-Men issue number 327, we really do pick up with Magneto being confronted by a group of children. Now, at first, they believed that he was dead. But once he does get up, they kind of realize like, nah, the dude is alive and well. Well, maybe not well, but then he's confronted by a random woman. Now, her goal right now is to protect the children. And so she pulls out a shotgun and points it right at him. Now, for Magneto, somebody who does not truly remember anything from his past, he does activate his powers. And when he does, he's able to remove the shotgun out of her hands. Not out of her hands. Really, he said, you know what, get that gun out of my face, and kind of pushes her back because she's holding the shotgun. But either way, once he does use his abilities, right after that, he does pass out. Now, once he does wake up, he's then confronted by the same woman we saw earlier, and we do learn that her name is Sister Maria. Now, for Sister Maria, she is like, the person in charge of this orphanage, and so that is why she was so protective over the children earlier when it came to Magneto, being right in front of their face, but not knowing who he was. Now, she also kind of asked him like, hey, listen, before you came here, where were you going? Now, for Magneto, somebody who does not truly remember who he is or where he was going, he tells her the honest truth. And the thing is, she believes him. And she's kind of like, okay, cool. Guess what? You can stay here then until you know when you want to leave, or you get the idea of who you are and where you were trying to go to. And so as some time passes by, you then have the kids begin to call him Joseph. Now, this leads into a whole new concept that we're going to cover very soon on the channel when it comes to our coverage over the next few X-Men events. But when it comes to Joseph, he's trying his best to help out around the orphanage. Now, we do learn here that this territory is being battled over right now between two different government parties. And so, unfortunately for this orphanage, every once in a while you might have a bullet or two just fly through the building. And for Joseph, he does get very upset by that because one of those bullets could hit a child in this orphanage. Now, as more time passes by, it's also Joseph being able to build a bond with Maria as well, because Joseph kind of feeling like that he did some horrible things in the past. Now, if we are left to believe that this is Magneto, then technically, yes, he's correct. But again, he can't fully remember what he did in the past. Now, for Sister Maria, she tells him, that's in the past. It's now time for you to work for the future. Now, here's the thing, because with him being there for so long, it's not just him building that bond with the children at the orphanage, it's also him building that bond with Sister Maria as well, to the point where they almost kiss one another. Now, it does seem like the following day, while you do have Joseph working on a tractor, he didn't realize that there's somebody out there trying to spy on him. And so he realized that it's a guy known as Colonel Ramos. And I really hope I pronounced that last name correctly. Now, for the Colonel, it's really more him trying to talk to Sister Maria, but he also kind of realized that Joseph is a mutant. Now, that right there is really important. And here's the reason why. Because when it comes to Colonel, he does work for one of the two government parties in this area. But you do have the guy go out of his way to kidnap some of the children to actually use them as leverage to make Joseph, help out his government party. Now, for Joseph, he has ways to torture you, to get the information out of you, especially when it comes to people that he cares for. And so you do have the Colonel tell Joseph where he can find the children and also Sister Maria as well. But unfortunately, this kind of leads into the downfall for Joseph and his connection to the orphanage. And the reason why, because you do have Joseph go out of his way to find the children, to find Sister Maria, but they're kind of very confused on how in the world he was able to make it to them. And so once they do walk outside, they kind of see what he did. He went on complete rampage, killing off a few soldiers, causing damage everywhere just to get to them. It was a sight to see, a scary sight, especially for the children of the orphanage. And so for Joseph, he kind of realized that he had just destroyed that bond between him and the children of this orphanage. Now, before you have Joseph leave, you do have Sister Maria kind of give him something to carry with him. This magazine. On the cover of the magazine is the X-Men. And she knows that the X-Men are mutants, and she kind of feels like the X-Men might be the best chance to help out Joseph to remember everything from his past. And so that kind of ends issue number 327. But we're not going to stop there. And here's the reason why, because I kind of want to go ahead and cover issue number 328 as well. And here's the reason why, because this kind of begins the whole storyline where it's Charles Xavier kind of realizing that Sabretooth is a lost cause. And let me explain. You see, when it came to Charles Xavier, earlier on in our coverage over the X-Men, the dude truly believed that he could fix the mind of Sabretooth, which for me was pretty wild to think. But he honestly believed that he could do that because he took in characters like Wolverine, Rogue, and also Gambit. And over time, those characters showed like, hey, you know what? They became better people and became true X-Men-like characters. But for Sabretooth, it was a different route because first, for Charles Xavier, he had to fix the mind of Sabretooth to turn him away from being this killer that he truly is. Now, there was a point in time where you had Wolverine stab the mind of Sabretooth. And in that time period for Sabretooth, as his mind was slowly healing up, he was acting like a house pet. And so you had some folks kind of believe in the possibility that he may turn into a good person, but his mind is completely healed up. And so now he's kind of like, no, I'm back to my old ways again. But we're also kind of figuring out the possibility that Sabretooth could have been faking it the entire time when his mind was healing after Wolverine had stabbed him. Now, for Charles Xavier, he's not on his own here, right? Like, Charles Xavier is actually, being watched over by Cyclops, Jean Grey, and also Bishop. Now, for Bishop, he wants to go ahead and kill all Sabretooth, which for me personally, I'm like, dude, go ahead and do it because there's some characters you can't save. And for Sabretooth, he's one of those characters you can't save at all. But the problem is that Charles Xavier tried for so long. Now, it's also Jean Grey telling us when Charles realized that Sabretooth was no longer worth trying to save because they had programmed the Danger Room to give him a peaceful environment. But when they read his mind, when they looked through his eyes, All they saw was just a savage man wanting to kill everything in front of him that was programmed in that danger room session. And so it kind of showed them like, no, this is a man who's no longer worth saving at all. It's time for us to go ahead and hand him over to the government and just move on with our lives. But this is also Sabretooth getting that time to kind of taunt Charles Xavier, because for Charles, he has this crazy dream, well, to most people, that mutants and humans should be able to live together in harmony. And so for Sabretooth, he's kind of like, your dream is literally an illusion. It's never going to happen. And you hate the idea there's mutants like me out there just doing things for the heck of it, ruining the whole idea of what you are trying to achieve. Me and like Magneto. Now for Charles, he does give Magneto a good excuse, because for Magneto, over the years, the man has been going through a lot. But for Magneto, he does truly care for the mutant race, and he is trying his best to help out the mutant race. It's just completely different than what Charles is trying to do. And so for Charles, he said Magneto has an excuse. You don't have one though, Sabretooth. And for Sabretooth, he does not care at all. But either way, for Charles, it's now time to pass him on over to Val Cooper, one of the leaders of X Factor, and hand him over to the government. But this is just another small step of the idea of Onslaught coming our way very soon, because you do have Charles Xavier be confronted by Cyclops and Jean Grey. And all they want to do is just be there for him, because they know this man. This man's kind of like a father to them. And they know right now he hates the idea of failing. But for Charles Xavier, this is a man right now who does not want to talk at all. He's all like, hey, stop. Leave me alone. We all have things to do. Very aggressive, very kind of like short with his two kids or his two students. And for Cyclops and Jean Grey, they kind of realize, yeah, like there's something going on with Charles. But there was one other character that was truly involved with the idea of Sabretooth, and that would be Boom Boom. And let me explain, because over in X-Force comics, we have saw a few examples of her trying to take care of him because, well, again, once you had Wolverine stabbed his mind was slowly healing up. He was acting like a house pet. And so for Boom Boom, she felt bad for him. But at the same time, she believed that maybe, just maybe, he'll turn his life around, because she believed in second chances. Now, we also kind of learned that it tied into her father, who she left behind, who was a horrible man, but she kept giving him second chances over and over again. And so when it came to Sabretooth, she was kind of hoping like maybe, just maybe, he'll turn himself around. But it's him telling her like, you are an idiot. Did you really believe in the possibility of me turning good? Like, what is wrong with you? And so it makes her very upset. Now, at first, it's Boom Boom not letting his words get to her. And matter of fact, she's being watched over by Psylocke, who's very impressed at first that Boom Boom is not allowing Sabretooth to get to her. But he continues until that point where she has no choice. She has to attack him to let out her anger. But the problem is that her powers basically sets him free. Now you do have Psylocke being able to jump in. Now the last time these two characters fought, Sabretooth won almost very easily, but for Psylocke, she still believes in the possibility that she might be able to win against him. But it's Sabretooth saying, like, listen, last time you almost lost to me. Really, you did lose to me. But this time, I'm going to show you my full potential as a wild beast, a savage person. And so while you have the two characters fighting against one another, she does begin to lose. But let's not forget, when it came to Sabretooth, he has somebody close to him known as Birdie. Now, Birdie was a psychic who would use her powers as a way to ease his mind, because his mind was just full of things he hated from his past life growing up. And the thing was, he came to Charles originally to have someone like Birdie ease the pain in his mind. But the thing is, with Wolverine stabbing his mind a while ago, he no longer needs a psychic. And so for Psylocke, she's kind of like, oh gosh, my powers are not going to stop him at all. And he's kind of like, yep. And he does slash her. And so he leaves. But once you do have Archangel, Cyclops, and I want to say Bishop as well. No, Beast. It was Beast. Arrive. They find Boom Boom just holding on to Psylocke as she bleeds out with the possibility of her dying. And this is where we're going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. But guys, see y'all next time. Later.